Hello, friends, and welcome to the Union Labor Advisory Network. I'm Mike Fina. Today, I'm extremely proud and privileged to be with Arthur Cheliotes, Business Manager and President Emeritus of CWA Local 1180 here in New York City. Arthur, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me, Mike.
Without a doubt, I'm so thankful. We've known each other for quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
And to be able to sit down with you, learn a little bit more about your background, history, and experience to share with the audience today. 1180, powerhouse local in New York City, about 9,000 members plus.
Right.
With your retirees.
Another
6,000 people. Arthur, could you give us, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in your life of service and with CWA?
Well, I graduated high school and I was working 3 different jobs. I graduated college, I was working 3 different jobs and looking for a permanent job. And my neighbor worked for the city. And she was a Holocaust survivor. She had the numbers on her arm. And she said, Arthur, take the test. My son's taking the test. You should take the test for civil service job. So I got a civil service job working for this HRA. And I was in DC 37. And within a year, they offered me a promotion to supervisor. And I joined Local 1180. When I got into Local 1180, the shop steward there said, hey, you should be the shop steward. So I became the shop steward. What did I know? One thing led to another, and I did pretty well as a shop steward. I became permanent in the title and permanent in the union. And I started moving up the ranks in the union. They invited me to come in and be a full-time staff rep. Came in, became a full-time staff rep, and then a couple of elections came along, and people said, everyone wanted me to be their vice president. I said, yeah, I'll think about it, And my friend said, you know why they want you to be the vice president? Because you're going to carry them to be president. Why don't you run for president? It was a neck-and-neck race, but in the end, I won. And that was, I was what, 30-odd years old? 31 years old, I think it was. And started my career there. It was tough in the beginning, but we started to assess what was going on, and we realized one of our big problems is our members were caught in a glass, it wasn't a glass ceiling, it was a cement slab, where they couldn't get up past the ranks. And our members basically took civil service tests. And we had already started investing in, they were willing, and they were predominantly women of color, they were willing to go to school at night after they put in a full day's work with the family responsibilities women tended to have, and still have, and get an education because they thought it was important. And they passed these tests well. They scored high. We got them ready for those tests. And the largest number of women and minorities passed those tests than ever before in the city's history. But the Koch administration wouldn't promote them. And so we fought the Koch administration, forced them to do it. And eventually we exposed some of the corruption in the Koch administration. And we ran a video, the Democratic primary, the Saturday before the Democratic primary, exposing a video. It was a half-hour video on WPIX. And Dinkins beat Koch in the Democratic primary. And from there, Dinkins became the mayor, and he respected the civil service law. He moved those lists. That became the largest number of women to be promoted out of the union into management. And we were willing to do that because we thought it was important to give our members every opportunity to advance their careers.
That's great. Now, Arthur, when we talk about your members, who do you represent as CWA Local 1180? Who are the members that you support today?
Well, they are, in the civil service system, the principal administrative associates, and the administrative managers and the coordinating managers at the Health and Hospice Corporation, assistant directors at Health and Hospice Corporation, make up the bulk of the membership. And we've also started to represent people in the private sector as well, in nonprofits. Nonprofits that are doing very important work to make a difference in the lives of Americans and really supporting human rights and following those laudable goals that we want to support. Yeah. And that fight continues. These workers want to be treated fairly. They want to get a living wage, and they want to get decent benefits, and that's what unions do.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And Arthur, I know we've had conversations, my past history in my banking world, but I had my banking hat, working with over 60 different locals from building trades to public sector, and just seeing how the money flows in from, city or municipality, single employer and contributions to multi-employer, and just members in general, the financial literacy, educating members on how to stretch that dollar or manage their finances in a much better way. CWA has done some phenomenal work in regards to negotiating some financial benefits for their members, as well as retirees.
Oh, yeah.
Arthur, could you go a little bit, maybe go into a little bit more detail, because I know you work with the Cornell School of Labor Studies, another organization from an educational standpoint that your members have access to. I'll let you elaborate a little bit more about that, because I know you're very deeply involved.
Well, I'm involved with the City University School of Labor and Urban Studies. We helped found it over 5 years ago, and it is a unit of the City University. And our perspective is that you need to train the next generation of labor and community leaders to understand the bigger social, political, and economic context in which they negotiate. If you don't understand the bigger picture on how the system is rigged against workers, you can't begin to fight the system. And it's got to be a systemic fight, because all too often the people at the very top look to try to manipulate us, to have us fighting each other, rather than looking up and figuring out what's really going on. And so for us, it was important that we talked about the need for financial literacy. You got to understand how you don't want to have a credit card that's 23%. It's usurious, but there are ways, if you're financially literate, you understand these things, you don't get caught in those traps.
Right.
You got to understand how important, and I think it still is today, getting the security that owning a home gives you in terms of capital appreciation. How important that is in the grand scheme of things. And it's been much more difficult for younger workers to even have a dream about that these days. And it's wrong. I was privileged to grow up at a time where these things were available to me. I could get a free college education at the City University. I could afford to buy a home when I was still in my 20s on a civil service salary and a teacher salary. Those things don't exist today for the young people. It's wrong. The system is not working for everybody, and we need to understand that the system isn't working. And being financially literate is so important in understanding how not to fall in the systemic traps that exist out there that are looking to grab you.
Yeah, yeah. And again, putting those particular opportunities in place and educating your members, having that on your website, making sure that people are aware that they can get those credits that they need, that your local, your union has negotiated for their benefit, for me is really incredible. And I know we've known each other for a long time. And again, when I look at finances and the automation and technology that's in finance today, how you can automate your life. And then the younger generation, everything's on apps and tools today. So you don't even know how much you spent on your Dunkin' Donuts or your Starbucks coffee, because you're just waving it around, hitting a button, and you don't realize you've just spent $3,000 annually on some barista, not even understanding, and then that puts somebody in a hole before they even get started.
And how important it is to understand, what Einstein called one of the wonders of the world, compound interest.
Yep.
How if you, when you're younger, can put money in the bank, whatever you can put in the bank, by the time you get ready to retire, the compounding on that will have made such a difference in giving you an important nest egg, a security to fall back on if you need it. That you need to understand these things in the grand scheme, and how difficult it is. I know to sacrifice to do these things, but how necessary it is as well.
Exactly.
So
because everybody's in the moment. Today's world is like today, not even thinking about putting that money aside.
Stop drinking coffee in the morning at the barista and put that in the bank.
Yeah.
So you're putting a couple of grand a year in the bank when you're in your 20s. By the time you get in your 60s, you've got a few $100,000 there that you wouldn't have had otherwise.
Absolutely.
And the coffee probably made you nervous anyway, Jimmy. So
Exactly,
why bother?
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Arthur, for me, again, I'm really proud to work with you, 1180. I know we're going to be able to get a chance to meet with Gloria later on today
Yeah,
as well. And again, I know she's worked with you for many years and into that her position as well.
Well, she took the local in places I could never, and she's been such a wonderful leader. I really admire the work that she's done, and we worked together as a team over a couple of decades, and I felt confident that when it was time for me to go and spend more time with my grandkids, that she was the person who could do the job, and she's done great work. And she's been a very dynamic leader beyond the local. Her leadership shines at the national level of the CWA, within the Central Labor Council, within the Municipal Labor Committee. She's an outstanding leader, and I admire her work and her energy. It's tough. You get pulled in all sorts of directions, and she's up to the task. God bless her.
That's great. That's great. Well, you have a great team. And just thankful to be able to work with you. Damien Arnold as well, the fund administrator. He helped us put this together as well. He's been a mentor to me, a friend in labor, and as we look to organize the masses and the people that can get things done. I'm very fortunate and thankful to know you,
thank you,
and
Mike.
to be able to work with you on future opportunities to educate members on financial literacy programs. Through the School of Labor Studies and work with you there. And just, pushing out the message through social media. I mean, again, the ULA Network, its mission and vision really is to support, educate, and promote union labor in all communities.
Well, yeah.
And when you look at what these members or your members are doing in the communities in which they live, and they donate their time, and they volunteer to make sure that they have a safe environment and community that they live in, makes me really proud to be able to play a role, do whatever is that I can to work with you to help that become reality.
Well, one of the things we did in the local, which we thought was important, was we established borough committees. We knew that it was important and our duty to represent the members where they work, but it was also our duty to represent them where they live. For them to understand how the government works, how they need to speak to their elected officials when they need a stop sign on the corner, when there's a problem at the school, when there's issues of crime and the need for better policing. All these things are part of the dynamics that a labor union, I think, needs to be involved in. And Local 1180 has embraced and is doing a great job with these borough committees and dealing with those issues. And it allows us that when we make decisions as to who will we endorse for public office, that there's a record and a relationship we have with those officials. Were they there to help us? Or were they there just to ride along and feel important? And if they're able to deliver those services and the members see it and understand it, they understand the power they have.
Yep.
And that's so important.
Again, I just get excited because to have you sit down with us today and just learn more about what you've been doing throughout your career, and what the future will lie with us together. Stronger together, right?
Yeah.
Hashtags. There's a lot of great things happening. I see a good momentum in the labor movement, and with multiple voices we can make a difference. And again, I'm just thankful to have you here.
Oh, nice to be here. And if I can talk a little bit about the City University.
Yes.
One of the things that we understood is we needed to explain the political, social, and economic context. We also needed to make sure that our members did well on the job, that they could demonstrate that they were able to run the units that they were in charge of, because we're talking about higher level administrative employees, to make the city work. People don't think about it, but if you put a cop on the street, who's going to arrange to get them on payroll? Who's going to arrange to get them processed for health benefits? Who's going to arrange the scheduling? All these things happen because the people in the background are dealing with payroll, personnel, health benefits, all these other things that need to happen that is relatively invisible to people. A lot of people never think about the fact that they go to the tap every morning and the water is good.
Yep.
It's the best water in the world. They flush the toilet and it goes away. And it doesn't pollute the rivers like it used to. Well, these things didn't happen by accident. You know, the roads, relatively speaking, you're not going to blow a tire every time you ride the roads. These things don't happen by accident. It is government doing the work that it needs to do to make a difference in people's lives. And our members play an important role in facilitating that process and making sure that process, all public workers do that. Whether in the frontline services like teachers, police, and fire, or in the back rooms, making sure they can put the people up front to do those things. That is what our members focus on. They're in the background, but they're making sure that they get the people out to do the work.
Absolutely. Yep, it's a teamwork, and
Absolutely.
like I said, there's people in the back office that don't necessarily always get the limelight,
Right.
but their job is critical to the success of everybody. And I know, again, we're talking about today, you know, filming a few different interviews, but we will meet another city employee talking about their career
Sure.
and how they keep the city running.
Yeah.
And keeping those cops, cart, and firemen in those vehicles running safely and making sure that they get to those particular avenues. So, but Arthur, thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
We'll be doing more of these again, and I'm sure we'll be talking about some of the opportunities on the financial literacy side, because I know that that's going to be
that's
a big piece for both of us.
Financial literacy is so important because it's easy to get caught in traps that really make it hard to get out of. And you need all that.
And I think today, with technology and some of the automation, it could put people in a better, on a better path.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, the health apps or the tools that you have today. It's like, you know, your heart rate's a little, you know, high. Maybe do this, do that.
Well,
with those financial tools, like, wait, you spent too much money, reallocate and move over and do this, so that you have those futures.
Well, you point out correctly that, you know, we don't deal with cash anymore. We deal with bits and bytes rather than dollars and cents. And so you lose track. And boom, before you know it, what?
Exactly.
What's this bill about?
Right. Yeah. So we're going to make a difference together.
Good.
We'll educate the market and educate labor. And again, I just want to thank you for everything that you do, Arthur.
Well, Mike, I thank you for the work that you're doing. It's very important work to protect the members.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate your work.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good talking to you.
All right.
Thanks, Arthur.
My pleasure.
All right. I'd like to thank all our sponsors for helping to build and promote the ULA Network. It is because of you that we're able to support, educate, and promote informative content relevant to labor. Please subscribe, like, and share our channel and media. I'd like to thank you all for your support.